This is Marketing. You Can't Be Seen Until You Learn to See, by Seth Godin. Picture this. A small team of marketers sits in a dusty village square in India, completely baffled. They're watching person after person walk away from something that could change their life. Here's what makes it so puzzling. 1 billion people on our planet need reading glasses, but don't have them. For many, it's the difference between earning a living and sliding into poverty. This team from Vision Spring had cracked the code, or so they thought. Beautiful, quality glasses for just $2 to make, sold for $3. That single dollar kept their mission alive. When they set up shop, villagers crowded around. The team knew the math was perfect. First, biology confirmed many people here desperately needed glasses. Second, nobody owned a pair. Third, they had the cash. You could literally see the rupees tucked into their shirt pockets through the thin fabric. The demonstration was pure magic. Hand someone an eye test, then a pair of sample glasses. Suddenly, the world snaps into focus. Crystal clear vision, instant transformation. Then comes the mirror and 10 stylish options to choose from. And then, nothing. Only 1 in 3 people who needed glasses, knew they needed them, and could afford them, actually bought a pair. 2/3 just turned and walked away. Wrap your head around that. A life-changing product at a price anyone could manage, solving an obvious problem, yet somehow they were failing spectacularly. This mystery sits at the heart of everything about marketing. And here's the thing. We've been getting the answer wrong for decades. Today we're exploring a book that completely rewrites the rules. It's called This is Marketing, and Seth Godin, one of the sharpest minds in business, wrote it. This isn't your typical marketing playbook filled with growth hacks and ad tricks. It's a manifesto that flips everything on its head. Strip away everything you think marketing means. The pushy sales pitches, the spam flooding your inbox, the shameless hype. Seth shows us that real marketing is something completely different. It's more generous, more human, and frankly, more powerful. By the time we're done today, you'll see the world through a different lens. You'll understand that marketing isn't about yelling louder than everyone else. It's about truly seeing people, serving them deeply, and helping them become who they've always wanted to be. This skill doesn't just apply to business. It transforms every area of your life where you want to create meaningful change. And it all begins with solving the mystery of those villagers who walked away. Marketing has been the background noise of our lives for so long that we've stopped really noticing it. Like fish swimming in water, we're soaked in logos, jingles, and billboards to the point where we've forgotten what it's actually supposed to do. We've come to link it with all the worst things: aggressive hype, endless spam, pressure tactics. For most of us trying to do good work, there's an uncomfortable shame that comes with the word marketing. But Seth Godin tells us, the compass has completely flipped. The world has transformed. Those old tricks of buying massive attention to push average products to average people, they're dead. The internet, he points out, is the first mass medium that wasn't built to make marketers happy. Television was designed for TV commercials. Radio existed to sell radio ads. But the internet is fundamentally different. It's not a megaphone blasting one message to millions. It's a billion tiny conversations happening everywhere, and most of them don't include you at all. In this new landscape, effective marketing isn't warfare. It's something entirely different. Godin captures it in one beautiful, simple phrase. Marketing is the generous act of helping someone solve a problem. Their problem, not yours. It's an opportunity to serve, a chance to create the change you want to see in the world. And your only real obligation is to do marketing that makes you proud. Let's go back to that village in India. The marketers were stumped, sitting there with their perfect product and their puzzling failure. The lead marketer sat alone in the sun for an hour, wrestling with this riddle. Then he made one tiny adjustment to their process. Just one small change. And that single tweak doubled their sales on the spot. What did he do? He removed all those shiny plastic-wrapped glasses from the table. Now, when a villager tried on the sample pair and suddenly experienced clear vision, the marketer simply said, "Here are your new glasses. If you like them, pay us $3. If not, please give them back." That's all. Same price, same product, different story. He shifted the entire emotional frame, from the anxiety of shopping for something new to the dread of losing something you already possess. For people living in poverty, the thrill of shopping is a luxury they can't afford. The risk of choosing wrong weighs too heavily, but the pain of having clear vision stripped away from you, that's a feeling worth paying to avoid. This is the first profound lesson of modern marketing. People don't want what you make. They want what it will do for them. They want how it will make them feel. There's a famous idea in marketing from Harvard professor Theodore Levitt. He said, "People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill bit. They want a quarter-inch hole." Simple and powerful. We sell the benefit, not the feature. But Godin pushes us deeper down the rabbit hole. He says nobody actually wants a hole. What they really want is the shelf that goes up after they drill the hole. Actually, that's not quite it either. What they want is the satisfaction of a tidy home once their stuff sits on that shelf. Even deeper, they want the pride of having done it themselves. Or the boost in status when their spouse admires their handiwork. Or maybe, just maybe, what they truly crave is the peace of mind that comes from knowing their home is safe, clean, and organized. So the saying becomes, people don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill bit. They want to feel safe and respected. That's the work. We sell feelings. And there aren't that many feelings to choose from. Belonging, connection, peace of mind, status, respect. The thing you create is just a vehicle delivering one of those emotions. Once you grasp this, everything shifts. You stop asking, "How do I get the word out?" which Godin calls exactly the wrong question. Instead, you start with two completely different questions: who's it for, and what's it for? This leads us to the core of Godin's strategy, the smallest viable market. He argues that chasing everyone is a trap. When you try to please the masses, you're forced into mediocrity. You have to file down all your interesting edges, offend nobody, and end up exciting nobody. You create boring stuff for boring people. The alternative is finding your corner of the universe. Ask yourself, what's the minimum number of people I'd need to influence to make this worthwhile? If you could only reach 30 people, or 3,000, you'd be incredibly specific about which ones. You'd pick the people most open to your message, the ones who'll get the most value, the ones who, when delighted, will tell others. Godin uses a striking analogy here. Imagine you have a teaspoon of special dye. Drop it into a swimming pool, and the entire pool turns brilliant, permanent purple. But drop that same teaspoon into the ocean, and nobody even notices. The mass market is the ocean. The smallest viable market is your swimming pool. Don't try to color the ocean. Find a pool, and focus all your energy there. This isn't thinking small. It's being brave enough to be specific. When you define who it's for, you must also define who it's not for. Saying this isn't for you is actually an act of respect. It respects the people you're not serving by not wasting their time. And it deeply honors the people you are serving by telling them, "I made this specifically for you, not for them but for you." So how do you find this group? You don't look at demographics, what people look like. You look at psychographics, what they believe, what they want, what they dream of. Every person carries a worldview, a lens through which they see everything, a set of biases and assumptions. Your job is finding a group that shares a worldview and telling them a story that resonates with it. Think about Dunkin', Donuts, and Starbucks. For decades, both sold coffee, but they weren't really competing. They served completely different tribes. Starbucks obsessed over a group with specific beliefs about coffee, time, money, and luxury. Dunkin' served another tribe entirely. By focusing on their chosen us, both built empires. And this brings us to what might be the most powerful sentence in the entire book. People like us do things like this. This simple phrase drives all of culture. It's the hidden script behind almost every choice we make. We don't eat crickets, not because they taste bad, but because people like us don't eat crickets. We buy a certain car, vote for a certain candidate, wear certain clothes because we're sending signals about which us we belong to. Marketers don't make average stuff for average people. Marketers make change, and they do it by normalizing new behaviors for a specific us. Consider a small town about to vote down its school budget for the first time in memory. The schools were excellent, but taxes were rising, and an organized group opposed them. With only 8 days before the vote, a few activists tried something different. Instead of arguing or distributing flyers, they tied 100 blue ribbons, the color of the school's national award, to a big tree in the town center. Within days, the idea spread like wildfire. Thousands of blue ribbons appeared on trees everywhere, hung by dozens of families. The message wasn't an argument. It was a signal saying, people like us, people in this town, support our schools. The budget passed, 2-1. They changed the culture by changing what people like us do. This connects directly to another hidden force driving our decisions, status. Godin says we're constantly, often unconsciously, measuring our status in every interaction. Who eats first? Who sits where? Who waits for whom? Status isn't about money. It's about our position in the hierarchy and how we perceive that position. He breaks it into two fundamental drives. 1. Dominion. This is the vertical measure of status. Who's above me? Who's below me? It's about power, control, and winning. People who care about dominion want to know their side is in charge. 2. Affiliation. This is the horizontal measure of status. Who's standing next to me? Am I in sync with my tribe? It's about belonging, connection, and community. When you bring your work into the world, it always challenges someone's status. Your new idea, your product, your service offers people a chance to either raise or lower their status, or protect what they have. Understanding whether your audience cares more about dominion or affiliation is key to telling a story that resonates. Uber, for example, built its brand on dominance, aggressively entering markets, breaking rules, winning. Fashion, on the other hand, is almost always about affiliation, being in sync with what people like us are wearing this season. Your job as a marketer is understanding this landscape. Once you do, you can use one of the most powerful tools for creating change: tension. Tension isn't the same as fear. Fear freezes people in place. Tension is the feeling of a stretched rubber band. It's the gap between where we are and where we could be. It's the feeling of, this might work, or this might not work. And it's the only thing that overcomes the inertia of the status quo. Think about the software company Slack. Nobody wakes up eager to learn new software. That's a hassle. So how did Slack become the fastest growing product of its kind? They created tension. They got a few early adopters in an office to try it. Those people started talking to each other on Slack. Suddenly, for everyone else, there was new tension. You're missing out. People are talking about you, working on projects without you. Every day you're not on Slack, you're being left behind. The only way to relieve that tension was signing up. Marketers create tension, and forward motion relieves it. Whether it's the scarcity of a limited edition sneaker or the social pressure of a new movement, this is how change happens. This brings us to the actual tools of the modern marketer. It's not about buying ads. It's about earning something far more valuable: permission and trust. Permission marketing was an idea Godin introduced over 20 years ago, and it's more relevant now than ever. It's the privilege, not the right, of delivering anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who want to receive them. He says the simplest definition of permission is this: the people who would miss you if you were gone. If you stopped showing up, would they ask where you went? You earn this permission through generosity. You show up consistently, over time, solving problems and adding value. You make a promise and keep it. And you own that relationship. You don't rent it from a social media platform that can change the rules on you tomorrow. With permission comes trust, and trust is the scarcest resource we have. In a world filled with noise and fakes, trust is the only foundation on which you can build something lasting. And when you have permission and trust, you can build a funnel that actually works. Godin's funnel isn't a trick to squeeze money from people. It's a journey you guide them on. At the top, you pour in attention. Along the way, some people leak out. They're distracted, or it's not a good fit. But those who make it to the bottom become your loyal customers, your true fans. And what do you do with those true fans? You hand them a megaphone. You build your product or service in a way that works better when it's shared. This creates a network effect, a virtuous cycle, where every good customer brings you another one. The fax machine became popular not because of ads, but because it was useless to own one, unless your friends also owned one. Your users became your salespeople. Let's look at one of the best examples of all these ideas working together: the Grateful Dead. For a band that sold out stadiums for decades, they had exactly one top 40 hit. Just one. So how did they become one of the highest-grossing live acts in history? They did it by rejecting the mass market. They poured all their energy into a tiny audience of true fans. They didn't use radio to find new listeners. Instead, they did something that seemed completely insane. They encouraged their fans to tape their live shows and share the tapes for free. They built their entire business on their smallest viable market, giving them something to talk about, a culture to belong to, a way to signal, people like us go to dead shows. They had the patience to stick with it for decades, and the courage to be quirky and different. In 1972, this was an accident. Today, Godin argues, it's the surest path to success. Because your work is not for everyone. It's for someone. Your job is finding that someone. Find the lock, then fashion the key. It's far easier, Godin says, to make products and services for the customers you seek to serve than to find customers for your products and services. It all comes back to that central idea. Marketing is not the selfish act of a hustler. It's the generous act of a leader, a teacher, a connector. It's the work of making change happen. And what about you, the person listening right now? Godin's final message is perhaps his most important. He says the most critical marketing we do is the marketing we do for ourselves. It's the story we tell ourselves about what we're capable of, who we're meant to serve, and what change we're here to make. He argues that if you have a way to make things better, and you hesitate to market it, you're not being humble, you're being selfish, you're stealing. You're stealing from the people who need your contribution, the people waiting for you to show up and lead them. The world needs your work, it needs your art, but most of all, it needs you to have the courage to make change. And that, right there, is marketing. As we wrap up our journey through Seth Godin's This Is Marketing, I want to leave you with a final thought on why this book matters so profoundly, especially right now. In a world that often feels divided, noisy, and cynical, Godin offers us a path back to what truly matters: human connection. He fundamentally reframes marketing from a selfish pursuit of attention and profit into a generous act of service. He reminds us that at the heart of any successful endeavor, whether it's building a company, launching a nonprofit, or even just convincing your family to try a new restaurant, is empathy. The ability to truly see the people you're trying to reach, to understand their dreams, their fears, and the stories they tell themselves. The most powerful lesson for me is the idea of the smallest viable market. It's a concept that feels incredibly liberating. It gives us permission to stop shouting into the void, trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, it encourages us to find our us, that small group of people who will get what we're about, who will appreciate our unique contribution, and who will miss us if we're gone. This isn't just a business strategy, it's a life strategy. It's about finding where you belong and who you're meant to serve. So, how can you start applying these ideas today? Here are a few simple actions to get you started. First, think about a project you care about. It could be a small business, a creative passion, or a cause you believe in. Ask yourself Godin's two essential questions: who's it for, and what's it for? Be brutally honest and incredibly specific. Write down who you are not for. This act of definition will bring surprising clarity. Second, step into the shoes of that specific audience. What story are they currently telling themselves? What do they truly want? Not the feature, but the feeling. What's their status in their world, and do they seek dominion or affiliation? Your goal isn't changing their worldview, but telling a story that aligns with it. And finally, ask yourself, how can I be more generous? What problem can you solve for your smallest viable market today? How can you show up for them consistently, earning their trust and permission, one small act at a time? This isn't about grand gestures. It's about the patient, steady work of a farmer, not a hunter. Plant, tend, weed, and repeat. That was a deep dive into This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. We've walked through the core principles today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a photograph of a magnificent meal. You can see what it's made of, but you can't taste it. The real magic of Godin's work is in how his ideas settle in your mind as you read them. This summary is your map, designed to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've discussed today has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see your work and your ability to make a difference in the world. A link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you a new perspective, please do me a small favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know I'm on the right track, and it ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.